Hello and welcome to the Headache Doctor podcast. On this podcast, it's our mission to educate and empower everyone with headaches and migraines so that you can break free from a life of fear of your next headache or migraine and dependence on medication. I'm Dr. Taves, your host, the founder of Novera Headache Center and one of the headache specialists here. We have locations in Colorado Springs and Parker, and we do in-person and virtual care for really anyone with a headache or a migraine. And in this podcast, I'm going to talk about the three essentials for finding true relief. So if you are looking for a root cause solution to your headaches or migraines, these are three things that you cannot overlook. Now, this goes to our three-spoke framework, which if you haven't heard me talk about that, please go back and listen to that framework. And this is a framework that is rock solid. It's bulletproof. It's something that is its foundation is really truly in just our anatomy, our biology, how we operate, how we function, and real objective things, okay? And when we apply these three essentials, we essentially are operating and allowing time to be on our side when we understand these three essentials. And then in your specific situation, we can put a plan in place that actually solves the root cause of your headaches and migraines. And so I want to break down the three essentials so that you are well equipped and understanding like, okay, how does this apply to me? And then I want to tell you that if you're someone who's like, hey, I want this personalized plan using the three essentials and how they apply to my situation, then I want you to reach out to us. We can do that over our coaching program. We can do it with in-person care. And so we have different options for you, but we work within this model, and it's helped over 1,500 people with headaches and migraines and 7 years in business. And so we want to help you too. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the root cause or the actual source of pain. So the first thing I want to talk about is the source of pain that is the thing in your body that's actually generating a pain signal, okay? So that's the first essential. We have to understand where pain is actually coming from. You see, when people have headaches or migraines, they oftentimes are distracted or confused because there's all sorts of different things, whether it's triggers or they put themselves in environments where like they eat certain foods, they get hot outside, they go for a hike, they exert themselves, they travel, the barometric pressure changes. So there's all these things, and they're confused as to like how to distinguish, how to understand what is actually the trigger, what's causing it, how do all these things play into it, okay? And so the first thing we have to understand is where pain is actually coming from. And the thing that none of those actually explain is what actually is generating the pain. Meaning, if you have hormonal migraines, if you have barometric pressure changing as a trigger, if you get exertion headaches, those describe a scenario that basically you're putting your body in a more vulnerable position, but it doesn't tell us where the pain is coming from. So when I talk about where the pain is coming from, it's important to understand that that's typically a structure in the body, so a mechanical structure that is irritated, and then it's sending a pain signal to the brain, and the brain receives that and says, okay, like it's going to hurt in your head, in your face, wherever the pain's going to actually show up, but it's coming from somewhere. Generally, it's the neck, jaw, shoulders, okay? And so when we understand that essential component of like where is the pain actually being generated from, I want you to understand that you can then make changes in your life to cater to that thing. And for most of you, it's going to be the neck. And then once we start catering to the neck, improving mobility, then the pain level itself, the pain generator drops, okay? The irritation that's actually sending the pain signal reduces. So that's number one. That's the essential thing, is to understand that. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't have a neck issue, but I get migraines all the time, or I don't have a neck issue and I have headaches, and just know that we've been doing this with over 1,500 people from around, I think we've got 35 states represented. We've got people from all over the world that have come out to see us and that we work with virtually. And we've been doing this for 7 years. We've seen all types of headaches and migraines. And I can maybe think of one or two that their neck was not, I would say that wasn't the dominant presentation of a pain signal. And so odds are that there is something going on. You just are unaware of it, okay? And about 40% of people we work with are unaware of the neck issue. that they have. It's just in their head, right? So that's the essential component number one. Essential component number two is to understand why you got in this spot in the first place, okay? So now, there may be things that are obvious, like I was in a car accident, or I played football, or I had all these whiplash injuries or concussions, and that is a clear, it's a clear sort of history of trauma that will impact your neck, your jaw, your shoulders mechanically, okay? And that definitely plays a part. That could be why you're in this scenario. But for those of you that don't necessarily have that mechanical trauma to your head or neck, which is a lot of people, we have to look at things that are barriers. So let's say we look at this and we say, okay, this is a neck issue. Now, if we don't ask the question why, if we just stop there and say this is a neck issue, then what we could be missing is, for example, like an airway issue. And we could be missing the fact that every time you sleep, you're breathing through your mouth and your jaw is clenching, grinding, and you're thrusting your jaw forward and you're cocking your head back and you're increasing the amount of stress through your shoulders, through your neck. And even when you swallow, you have to like compensate, and you have all these accessory muscles kicking in, and it's just feeding this tension that you're carrying. And then you go to see someone that works on your neck, but they don't understand why you got there in the first place. That's a problem. And so we need to break down any barriers that you may have. Another thing that falls into that category is like hypermobility, or what would be called Ehlers-Danlos. And you can be hypermobile without EDS, but it's this is a genetic thing. It's something that basically your ligaments, you have more joint laxity, and your body needs a level of stability that maybe isn't naturally there. And there's also, it goes with things like POTS, or a level of inflammation running through your system. So there's things that will basically put someone into a category where they're at high risk. Like your body genetically, you inherited from your parents, your genes are putting you at higher risk of developing this neck problem, okay? So I don't believe there's a headache gene or a migraine gene. It's basically you inherited the same things that your mom or dad did, and they have migraines, and they were sort of in a precarious situation. They were at a higher chance of developing this sort of neck issue, and so you are as well, because you inherit the same type of anatomy, behaviors, social behaviors, lifestyles, that sort of thing, okay? So think of it that way. We need to understand how you got here, and we need to change those things and look into those things so that even when we fix the neck, we don't run into barriers. Okay, so that's the second essential component, right? Hope you guys are sticking with me here. The third essential component is looking at your general health. Now, this is a big one for people, because if you've tried changing your diet, if you've avoided certain food triggers, if you have wondered why hormones seem to play a role in it, if you have wondered why stress seems to be a trigger, all of those things are wrapped up in your general health. There's no reason for those things to cause your head to hurt, or eye to hurt, or your temples to hurt, or pain in your neck to wrap up and around. There's no reason for you to have a specific pain pattern if systemically, meaning your whole body, is dealing with something, right? Something like hormones, something like stress, something like a response to barometric pressure changes. Things like that impact the entire body. So you having a specific headache presentation associated with those means that you're basically dealing with threshold in this category. So this third essential category, we look at it and we think, okay, what's their general health look like, and how is their general health impacting their body's threshold for tolerating the pain signal? Okay, so when we think about general health, the things that we want to improve are going to be, sleep. We want to improve lifestyle factors. We want to improve gut health, and we want to improve stress levels. And so there's all these things that fall into like your body's level to function at a high level. And we want to do those things. And oftentimes in this category, we're talking about things like gut health and diet, and improving the way your digestive system functions so that you don't have leaky gut and there's inflammation running throughout your whole system. And so once we address those things, it makes the other things easier, okay? Now, the reason that this is important, to get all of these essential functions correct, to understand them, and then to move toward a direction that evaluates and understands all three, because let's say, for example, that you do one. You will likely find relief for a short period of time, and then you will feel your headache or migraine come back. This happens with almost everyone. They do something, it has some relief, and then it comes back. And oftentimes in this category is the diet component. People will change their diet and they'll get some relief, and it might be for 6 months, it might be for a year, it might be for a month, and then it will come back. And it might even come back to the same degree, and they're still avoiding gluten, they're still avoiding dairy, they're still doing the diet, but their headache or migraine came back. So what's happening there? Well, we addressed one component. Their body's threshold was elevated, so they were able to tolerate more tension in their neck, right? And they also didn't address any barriers, and so the barrier's still there, the neck tension's still there. So those two components over time are going to mean that the tension, the pain is increasing, and you have temporarily increased your threshold. So you're like, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. This diet thing's working. I solved it. And then all it takes is for that threshold to be crossed by the level of tension that is over on the side, like creeping up, right? And then as soon as that tension level, that pain level creeps up past the level of threshold, then you're right back to where you started, and it feels like, wow, like I thought I had this solved, but now I don't, right? And then, for example, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's say that you go see a chiropractor or even a physical therapist, and they work on your neck, and it's like, hey, like that feels good, and it feels good. Usually in this category, it could be relatively short term. Maybe it's for a day, maybe it's for an hour, maybe it's for a week. Maybe you went through a whole like chiropractic regimen, and it's like it helped you for like 6 months, and then it like came back. Now, what's happening in that category is that you are addressing the actual source of pain, and it's dropping, right? But we didn't address the developmental barrier. We didn't address the barrier, the thing that is actually keeping you in that category, keeping the tension there. And we also maybe needed to address some things over on this general health side. And so your threshold's still pretty low, right? And so we addressed one category. You felt better for a period of time, but then these other two categories ultimately led to the barriers not being addressed, led to the pain level increasing in your neck. And then that pain level increasing means you just kind of have to keep, going back. And it's like, well, I thought the chiropractor worked and I thought it was my neck, but now it's not, clearly, because they're back, right? We hear that all the time. Like people have tried, they're like, oh, I tried stuff for my neck and it doesn't work. That's why it didn't work. You addressed one of the three components. You didn't address all three. Now, the other component is the second component, right? Like what if you just addressed something like a developmental barrier? Like what if you just addressed the tongue tie or the airway issue? Or you realized you can breathe through your nose, and so you went and you got all this ortho done to be able to breathe through your nose, and it's like, okay, now you can sleep better. And what if you just did that thing? Well, it would be very helpful, and it would probably lead to relief, again, for a short amount of time. But if we ignore the general health component, and if we ignore the actual source of pain component, then there's really not a reason for your headaches to go away for a longer amount of time, because one, your threshold's probably relatively low, and then the source of pain was never actually addressed. And so there was the barrier that was pulling your neck further and further into this problem, but we got rid of the barrier, but it doesn't mean that your body's just going to snap back and like everything moves great. The tension that you've been carrying, the compensation patterns that you've been dealing with ultimately need to be corrected. And once you've freed yourself up for those to be corrected, then that work needs to be done to address the source of pain, and then we need to evaluate and understand how your general health could improve. And so evaluating one or even two of these components without hitting all three ultimately is going to lead to temporary short-term relief, not that long-term root cause solution that you are looking for. And so this is a framework that has come out of over 250 podcasts, interviews with other providers from around the country, experts in their field, 1,500 plus cases of headaches and migraines, people that we've interviewed, more people than that we've interviewed from all over the world, and what we've seen work. And like I said, this is a bulletproof framework. And what I want you to know is if you want a specific plan that applies to your situation, that we evaluate each each of these essential components and then put you on the right trajectory, then reach out to us. On our website, you can book a call at www.noveraheadachecenter.com and book a call. We'll get you set up. It doesn't matter if you're out of the state or in state. We have a virtual coaching option, then we also have our in-person care. And this is the framework that we use. And if you've been wondering, like, how could he help me? How could this practice help me? That is the lens that we're going to look at it through. And we're going to walk you through this journey, provide you with a specific plan in place for you to find the relief that you're looking for. And this, like I said, it is bulletproof, and I get very excited about it because it just makes sense to me. And when people hear it, they're like, oh, that clicks, and it adds up. So please reach out to us. Thank you all so much for listening to the Headache Doctor podcast. I enjoy it so much, and it's something that I appreciate when you go on this journey with me. As always on this podcast, it's our mission to educate and empower everyone with headaches and migraines so that you can break free from a life of fear of your next headache or migraine and dependence on medication. I'll see you next week.